Hey y'all, I'm Calabria and welcome to Black Girl in a Semi-Classical World, the podcast for all singers across the vocal diaspora. My aim is to teach, lead, and empower singers to take up space and use their voices through stories within our industry. Today's special guest is Ashley Lyle. When I tell you we've been cutting a whole monkey before this, y'all, I'm gonna get into that in a minute, but first I just gotta read a little bit about my girl. Um, so Ashley has always been performing on stage since kindergarten, but began doing it professionally 10 years ago. She is an actor, a CEO, web designer of her own agency, Sites by Lyle, the CEO and founder of Black Literature and Art Queens Network, aka Blacken, and podcast host of Black Queens on Stage. Give her some applause, y'all.
Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Listen, y'all, let me just tell y'all, Satan is busy. We were supposed to start this thing at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
It is 6:37.
And it's because I don't know if Mercury retrograde is in like pre-shadow or whatever other retrograde is out there, because there's 11 of them. But I just can't with technology. But we here, so that's great. And we're going to chop it up. What's so different today is Ashley is primarily an actor. And of course, I'm primarily a singer. But those worlds always collide. They always merge. And they take something from one another and then put something back too. So I'm like super duper excited to like have her here. Like, I'm not even caffeinated and I'm like through the roof. So
Ooh, this is not caffeinated?
This is not caffeinated. This is non-caffeinated Calabria. I'm so excited. So tell us about your journey as an actor.
Ooh, I mean, just like my bio says that I have been performing since I was in kindergarten. The most fond memory that I have of being on stage was at the very end of our show. We did the song by Carole King, "You've Got a Friend," and that's always stuck with me. Girl, I'm 33 years old, and that is still stuck with me since kindergarten.
Mm-hmm.
And it's being on stage is something that has always followed me, and I have followed it.
Mm-hmm.
When in elementary school, I was always part of, or actually always had some type of main part or a supporting part of whatever school play that we're doing. There's one play in particular that I remember where it was, I think it was just called the Crayon Play.
Okay.
And we all wore specific colors like blue, red, black, white, yellow. And I was the blue crayon along with someone else, and we were blue. We were sad.
Oh, so yeah, so there's emotion in color. I love that.
Right. It was such a cute play. And then like a couple years later, my class, we did Shoemaker and the Elves, and I played the landlady. And I will never forget a friend of my mother's, when he came to see the show, he said, "Something is really wrong with you, Ashley. Something is wrong. Something is wrong." And then, mind you, I'm an 8th grader, like 13 years old, and he's doing this to a child.
Why is he saying something is wrong? Why was that his reaction?
Well, because for one reason, the landlady, the moment that she put on these brand new shoes that the shoemaker just magically had, even though his business was deteriorating, she put these shoes on and she's supposed to go crazy. So I went crazy, and I was just elated with such pleasure in these shoes that I started running around the stage, and then I ran and jumped off the stage, ran around the gym. All the other kids had to chase me. That was the whole spiel of it. And then I ran around the whole gym, ran back up and around, but I didn't come back on stage because that was the end of the end of my role.
Oh, but you said 2 minutes to fame? What? And I can relate to that. Do you classify yourself as an extrovert or an introvert or an ambivert? I'm just curious.
I would definitely say ambivert.
Really?
Because I don't mind being around people. I thrive off of the energy of people, especially like when I'm on stage.
Right.
But I definitely don't mind having my alone time. Like, all right, I've had enough of you. Now go away.
See, and you kind of fooled me because I would have said, "Oh, it's my extrovert sister." I feel like we are a brigade of extroverts, true extroverts, and we're always being attacked, or at least in my mind, that's what's going on. It's always a war on extroversion, and these sound like things that I would do on stage, like take it there. But these are also things that I do in my life. So part of the reason why I started this podcast, I love talking to people, and I realized how much I missed people during this panorama that we're in. But I like to be seen as well, right? And there's an energy there. Like even though it's through a screen, there's still an energy there. And so I can like super relate to you, like, oh, we're gonna take it to the head for this part. You told me I got 2 minutes, don't worry about it. This to be the best 2 minutes of the show. You know, don't watch me watch TV. Whatever I can say, like, I so get that. So tell me, what city in the metro are you from?
I can tell you which area. I am in the downriver area.
Okay. Yeah. Because that crayon play sounded a little Detroit Public Schools to me.
No, it was actually very very white private Catholic school.
Because listen, I am DPS. I'm a DPS alum. That was not any shade to DPS. It sounds like 1990s ish, early 2000s ish DPS. Like, all right, we're gonna come up with something for the Christmas play. Let's go ahead and put some together. You wear blue, you wear yellow, you wear red. So that's what made me think of that. Wow. Okay.
Well, yeah, no, it was like I said, it was such a cute play. It was two blue crayons, and then I think maybe 4 red crayons, and so it was one main red crayon where he was like the coolest. Red was like the passionate, cool color.
Right.
You know, everybody wanted to be the red color, and then he had his little groupies, his little lackeys that followed him, saying that, "Oh my gosh, you're the sharpest crayon in the toolbox." And but it was cute. And then I think a gray crayon, one white crayon, a black crayon. It was just all really cute. It was, and my best friend, she makes sure to not let me forget about that. She holds it as blackmail over my head because we had a song too.
Do you remember the song? Don't tell me.
Absolutely not. It was like some kind of, it was a bluesy country song.
Okay.
But it was so cute. But she dangles it. My best friend, she dangles it over my head. It's like, remember this time? Do you remember this? Because I remember it fondly. Let's look at it.
Wow, what a friend! Let's take her out for dinner.
Well, that's the thing. She and we have been friends since the 4th grade.
Okay.
So she was in that play with me.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's
wow. I mean, it's great. You know what I mean? I think you may be able to agree. Most of my friends have come from those stage experiences or those community building art experiences, and longtime friends. I'm talking 20 years type friends. That's like, that's amazing. But yeah, let's take her out for dinner, and especially if we have pictures of this play, let's take her out. So
that's the funny thing. She's not a theater person. She doesn't mind watching it.
Right.
She's gone with me to see shows.
Yeah.
But she's not enveloped in it.
Yeah.
Like I am.
I get that. So tell us, like, after the high that you got from, let's go with K through 8 or even K through 12 theater, what made you go further?
It was just something that was ingrained in me. I loved being on stage. I loved, and this is something that someone told me a long time ago, the validation. Actors always have to be validated, you know? But I really liked, I really loved just being on stage, just being a different person, being a different character, seeing and stretching and expanding who Ashley is. Like, is Ashley this? Is Ashley that? Well, Ashley can be so and so and be that as well. You know? So it was just something that I always had a flexed muscle for. Something that has been trained since kindergarten.
Yeah.
And it's just been, like I said, it's been ingrained in me since.
Wow. Yeah, I love that. Tell me, like, has there ever been a time where you tried to pull away from that calling?
Yeah, actually, in high school, because right when you're in senior year, you got to be an adult and you got to figure out what you need to do for the rest of your life.
You need to get an, quote, real job. I hate that.
Right.
I hate that conversation. Continue. Sorry.
Right. No, you're good.
Continue. Don't pay me no mind. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So, did something happen? Hold on. Oh, that was my headphone. Yeah, so senior year, I was trying to figure out, like, okay, so what do I want to do? It was at one point where I really took notice to fashion designing, because I also draw as well. Yeah, I started making dresses and designs and stuff like that. And I'm not a fashion head. I'm really not. I'm really, really not. Like, I'm the farthest thing from it. All this quarantine, I have just been in sweats and a t-shirt, and that's it. Like, this is the most dress up that you'll ever see me.
I'm not gonna even show you my bottoms. They don't
Listen,
make me
I can't show you my bottoms because that's not appropriate.
Get it? I'm just like, t-shirt me, please. Yeah, right. Yeah.
But then also my mother was definitely trying to instill in me. She was like, you need to go to school for engineering, blah, 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 and this and that. You need to go to school for that. I was like, okay, well, she was like, you need to go, you need to figure out what kind of engineering you need to go for. Well, at that time I had started really diving into building websites and learning more about computers. So I said, okay, I'll go to computer and electrical engineering. Boom. That didn't work. I went to Wayne State for 2 years for engineering, took some of the classes. They were hard. Yeah. But the class that killed me was calculus. Never again. Never again.
Tell me about it.
Like, I'm not bad at math, but calculus, not to mention I had a horrible teacher who didn't want to teach us.
Yeah.
So, but then I made the initiative that, like, okay, I need some kind of job to live. I need something. So then I worked as a pharmacy tech for 8 years. And then I decided I really want to pursue my acting career, but I know that I need something for myself. So that's when I decided that I wanted to go into business for myself. And I created my web design agency.
Wow. You got so many CEOs behind your name. That's like, come on.
Just two.
You know what, though? I love to see it. I really love to see it. I love to see, I'm partial to Black women as a Black woman, and I love to see us get this bag and those degrees and you know, all the titles, all the figures, you name it, all the certifications. That's like super empowering to see, especially, let's take it even further. You're a Black woman in the arts community. So that is an even smaller community than, you know, the aforementioned. I think, you know, if you don't mind me digging a little bit here, what you said to me struck, like, I don't even want to say it struck gold, because gold would imply that it was really good. It struck lead. Lead is like not good, right? Your mother basically told you, hey, you need to go be an engineer. I just want to let anybody know that's listening out there to this, if you have made it this far, please stop telling your kids what to do for a career. I think that that conversation about access is such a big conversation here and now because we have to provide opportunities for our kids and even our colleagues to discover their paths. We need enrichment opportunities. I literally had this conversation just a few weeks ago. When I was in high school, it didn't even dawn on me that opera singing was a legit career and it could be monetized in the way that it is monetized. No clue. Because my whole life I had been kind of told or led to believe, I should say, you know, that music, you was gonna be poor, you was gonna be homeless, you was gonna be hungry, and you know, and so on and so forth. And then that instilled a lot of fear in me that I actually still carry all the time as an adult. And, you know, I'm over 30 now and I've monetized it, but it's still this bump that I just feel like I keep running up against the wall, and the wall is nothing but me. And a lot of that is because you're just told what to do. And it really is our adults and caretakers projecting their fear on us. Your fear is none of my business. It's none of my business. I just, you know, I feel for people like that. I think a lot of young people that I come across who are interested in doing, you know, careers, I ask them what they're interested in doing. And if it's something that is creative, then I ask them, so what's your plan? The conversation isn't about whether you can or can't do it. These days, you can sit and make an app and be a millionaire. You could be a Mark Zuckerberg, for crying out loud. You know what I mean? And he was like, wasn't he a college dropout, if I'm not mistaken? So you don't need these degrees to have a job. You know what I mean? You need training and work ethic and networks and capital really is what you need. But, you know, my conversation mostly is, so what's your plan? What's your plan? How you going to get the money? How you going to get, you know, create the time? You know, what's your plan? If your plan, part of it is going to school, then that's part of the plan. If your plan is, you know, taking a certification course and working, then that's your plan. But what's your plan? But I wish people would stop interfering or meddling around with people's dreams, you know. And that's no shade to anybody's mother, because they or parent or guardian, they mean well. But in your meaning well, you've just now crippled me.
Yeah.
Because I trust you. I trust your opinion. I trust everything that you have to say because of who you are in my life. And now you have literally handed me your highest mountain and said, here, go climb it with no gear.
And then it's different. I don't know how different, but there is a different level to it with Black parents. You know,
I agree.
There's a different level to it with Black parents because it's I just know that with Black parents, it's more of a sense of urgency to make sure that, okay, you need to make your decision right now. Let's go. And when it's not the decision that they want for us, then it's almost like
we have to intervene.
Right. And then continue to press and then continue to push. Or if it's the type of parent, then they'll just be like, well, I'm done. And then just walk
dismissive away. Yep. Yeah. So it's either insistent to the extreme or it is dismissive.
Like there's nothing in between.
It's an extreme. And you know what? I'll even go further. I got a little bit of that from home. But I got some more of it at school too. So my high school choir director, I mean, I ate choir for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Let's start there. We used to call ourselves choir rats. And clearly I was probably president for 3 years at least. So, correct. I mean, it was a lot of us, right? So we enjoyed choir. Choir was a safe haven. Choir was the reason why we were traveling so much. You know, all these college tours. Choir was the reason why I got an undergrad scholarship, you know, a choir scholarship, might I add, is because of choir. And for a lot of us, we were like, oh, we want to be music majors. Once we knew that you could go to school and sing, and that's what you did, and of course, take other classes, right? So I don't want to minimize it and say that it's easy, because my God, it is harder than being a science major. I'm not even going to hold you up. And it is 30 times more classes too. But you know, once we found out that we could go to school to sing, We were like, oh, sign me up. What? This is like choir for another 4 years, right? Plus like solo work in addition to like relevant classes. And so, we would go through and look through what the major options were. And so you usually have at a lot of schools, you have music education as a major. So that means you're going to come out with a teaching certificate. You could do vocal performance, no teaching certificate, but it preps you really well for grad school as a vocal performer. You could do music business, which would have elements of, the business management side and or maybe a technical side as well. Some places you could do music composition. So you write music, right? That's where you learn the theory and everything, and there are a lot more other tracks out there. Some schools have them, some schools don't, whatever. And we immediately were told, go be a music ed major, go be music education, because then you'll have a job. So what did I do? I went and I was a music ed major, and I graduated with a music ed degree and a teaching license. And I went to teach in traditional K-12 and was like, oh, this ain't for me. Oh no, love, this can't be for me. I said, Lord, this ain't the end of my road, is it? Because I was like 21 when I started, and I was like, oh, okay.
21, you were still a kid yourself.
I was still a kid myself.
You ain't have patience for kids.
I was turning up on the weekend. I kid you not. So the first 2 years I was at a K-8 school, and then the last year I was at a high school. And, of course, I had appropriate, boundaries, especially for that middle and high school level. But I was like, Lord, people, no shade, but people do this for 25 years, 30 years. How? I'm tired. And it's at the end of year 1. I'm exhausted. Like I could go lay in a crypt and sleep for the next like 2 years. And like, how? My soul was just tired. And I was like, wow. But when I decided to go back to get a master's, this time in vocal performance, which is what I wanted to do in the first place, I lacked so much on a transcript that I was playing catch up for at least the first year in grad school. Because when you're a music ed major and a vocal performance major, some of your classes do not overlap. So there are things—
That's interesting.
Real interesting. So there were, prereqs that I probably should have had before grad school that I didn't have because I was music ed. And because the school I went to for undergrad didn't have vocal performance as a track. It was just music ed or music business. So I wouldn't have gotten those things anyway, had I went to that school or staying at that school. So it was just a totally different experience. But when I tell you, being a vocal performance major felt like home. It felt like home. Music ed, parts of it felt like home. But then when I got fully into the education department and had to do the education classes, I was like, these people are weird as hell. What is this? You know what I mean? It was like, I can do this work and I can, I understand it and I can synthesize it and I can reenact this. But this is boring as hell. I was like, what is this? I want to go back to the fine arts building. Like it was a very hard switch. But being a vocal performance major, it was just home all the time. It was loud. It was comfortable. It was community. It was, let's talk about our Italian arias. Let's go see some at MOT together. La Boheme is out this weekend. You want to go? Like it was like that kind of community.
Yeah.
And I wish I would have had that kind of community sooner. I found myself in that community, which may be similar to you. You found yourself in the theatrical community, because that engineering community, do people even talk to each other? I don't know what they do.
I mean, from what I remember, one class in particular that was like the coolest class that I could ever have throughout the entire time I was there was a Lego class. That was really cool.
I love Lego.
What we had to do, we had to build projects and then code it properly for the Lego project to move or to do tasks. And that, like I said, that was the coolest class that I could have ever had, but you're right. You're absolutely right. I found my community in theater because it's just something that has been ingrained in me since I was a kid.
Yeah.
But now I would say that I'm an untraditional actor because I didn't go to school for acting. I didn't get a theater degree or anything like that. I worked with a private tutor. His name's John Foreman.
Okay.
And I worked with him for 6 years. And he taught me the Eric Morris method of acting, which is what I use not as often as I should, but it's what I use to kind of get myself prepared. And like, if I really feel like I'm too tense, too stressed out, I kind of use that to kind of like, it's my yoga in a sense.
Yeah.
It's my yoga in a way to kind of center me, to bring me back down to earth, and to be like, okay, so where are you? How do you feel? I literally go through different questions and ask myself, because these are questions that are actually in the book too. How do you feel? Where are you right now? What does your clothes feel like? What does the air feel like? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? How do your hips feel? How do your ankles feel? Your toes? How does your butt feel? How does your back feel? Your upper back, your lower back, your neck, your ears, your head, all the way up to the top. And then I have to ask myself questions as, how does your character feel? What do they feel? How do their clothes feel? How far are you from how you feel now? How far are you to where your character feels in this moment? And how far do you have to get there? And what do you need to do to get to that point? So it's a lot of kind of like, quick, not quick, but like when I really want to get centered and I'm going over my lines or something, and I know that I need to kind of concentrate and really get into my character, I ask myself these series of questions, and then I take myself through well, I can't remember the name of it, but it's a de-stressor where I purposely tense up my body and then just go ragdoll. That's the name of it.
I like that though.
It's called ragdoll. So then you purposely tense yourself up, and then you just let yourself drop. And then that gives your body fluidity. It gives your body movement, so that way you can really feel everything that you're supposed to feel. And then from there, then I ask myself the questions about, what does the character feel like? What are they wearing? This and then that. And then get into that moment with my character of reaching what they're feeling, how they're being, and get to that point in that sense.
Yeah. That's a lot of mindfulness involved.
Yeah. That's why I say I don't do it as often as I should.
Yeah, but you have the tools and the awareness to start the process.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what has been your favorite role that you have played so far?
Ooh, Who Will Sing for Lena, where I played Lena Mae Baker. The story is about Lena Mae Baker, where she was the first and only Black woman in Cuthbert, Georgia, to be executed by electric chair. And she was executed because she killed her white rapist.
Whoa. Oh, Lord.
And it was a one-woman show. And my first professional show.
So the stakes are high, as is. They're culturally high, historically high, emotionally high, and professionally high.
I received a Wild Award nomination. And for those that don't know what the Wild Awards are, a local theater award show that's hosted by EncoreMichigan.com.
Love it.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of, that's like the high-ish level right there. It's constantly, these awards are constantly given out to the professional theaters in Michigan. So that includes non-equity theaters, equity theaters, like super professional. I'm gonna call it super professional. I know that's not the correct term for it,
but we get it.
Right. Like the Detroit Opera House has gotten awards for it. So
wow. Okay. Yeah. So there's a range.
It's professional. So as long as it's professional, it just doesn't include community theaters or any theaters that volunteer their play their artists.
Okay. So I'm still kind of floored at this character. Talk me through and talk us all through what your method of preparation for that character was. What did it consist of? What research did it consist of? What embodiment did it consist of? Because I think role preparation is across the board for acting singers and actors that sing, because there's such a tight relationship, right, between the two. They're both stage arts. Yeah. It's just got different spokes and different levels to it. And so there is a level of role prep that any performer must do before they perform anything. You know, you have to garner the authenticity of the character. Mm-hmm. And it takes a lot of time. It's like doing a research project, but for fun. It's not boring, but it also takes a lot out of you, and it takes a lot of refinement. So walk me through the preparation for that character, because that's a hefty one.
How much time we got? I mean,
so, we got time.
I can give you the short version as
okay,
as condensed as I can possibly get it.
Let's go with me.
So my director was Cassandra Freeman, and she the first thing that she told me, she asked me, she said, "Do you have a coping mechanism to, you know, keep you straight during this show, because this show will have you effed up, period."
Yeah.
So I didn't know what she meant, because for one, this was my first professional show. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know exactly, and I was just coming off of a community theater run of Sister Act, where I was in the ensemble.
Yeah.
So I said, yeah, sure, I got it. Then she put me through it. And she stretched me like, have you ever seen those videos of people making candy, like where they're stretching it and stretching it? This was her doing to me. She was stretching me and stretching me and stretching me. There were some tear-filled nights, a lot of frustrated nights, because I had to memorize 18 pages front and back of monologue.
That's hard.
Yeah. And then not only that, but I also had to do research on abuse victims. Mm-hmm. I had to do research on rape victims. Mm-hmm. Different crime researches. I even researched to find out if there was more information about Lena Mae Baker. There was a movie that was made where Tichana Arnold played Lena Mae Baker. She should have gotten a flippin' Oscar for that role, because I watched it.
Yeah, she's a powerhouse anyway. She's got range. She's got range anyway.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Watching her in this movie, and I'm just like, first of all, why hasn't anybody talked about this movie? Second of all, why was she never nominated? Third of all, why didn't she win an Oscar for this role? Because she was absolutely phenomenal. Like, people talk about why Angela Bassett didn't get her Oscar for What's Love Got to Do with It. I want to know why Tichana Arnold didn't get her Oscar for this movie.
Yeah.
But the reason why is because, one, it's about a Black woman. Two, it's about a poor Black woman. Mm-hmm. And three, it's about a poor Black woman who was raped by a white man. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And around what year do you remember that this documentary was made?
It was, I want to say the early 2000s.
Yeah, so that makes a difference too. And it's a great thing, right? But this era, especially the last, I'd say like 5 to 7-ish years, mm-hmm. we're waking up. We're talking about trauma. We're talking about injustice. We're talking about all of the isms of the world. And we're learning to spotlight and care for marginalized communities. Now, we've got a long way to go, but that conversation has started to become normalized.
Yeah.
At that time, that was not normalized. Mm-mm. we were still living in a world of
fairy tales and rose-colored shades,
where these communities were pushed away.
Mm-hmm.
These stories may have been told because obviously there was a movie made about her, but it was almost like that's a little too woke. Let's put that on the back end.
Let's tuck it back here,
let's save that for 20 more years.
I can guarantee you, I'm not 100% sure, but I know for a fact, because I never heard of it. My mother never heard of it.
Yeah.
Nobody within my close range of friends have heard of it. It did not make it to the movie theater. It went straight to DVD.
And I gotta find it. Yeah.
Yep. And it's hard to find because it's not in print.
Of course.
Yep.
Of course. So that is that.
And you can't find it on the streaming networks either.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if it's not in print, it's not on stream then. So it probably is, you have to rummage for somebody that may have it, if they have it. And then yeah, we're in a different time, thankfully. But how sad is that? Why does the era have to change?
Right.
What we think and put out.
And just for a frame of reference for anyone that's wondering who Tishna Arnold is, Tishna Arnold, one, is a fantastic actress who played Pam on Martin, and who also played Chris's mother on Everybody Hates Chris.
Mm-hmm.
So she has her comedic background.
Mm-hmm. Little Shop of Horrors too.
Yep.
Little Shop of Horrors, that movie.
And then she was also in a special run at this theater. I can't remember the name of this theater in New York, but this theater in New York, they revive shows and do concert versions of them. She was what's the Wicked Witch of the West in The Wiz? What's her name?
Not Eveline.
Eveline.
Mm-hmm.
She did Eveline in this concert version of The Wiz. Girl,
I know she was Eveline. She bodied it.
Man, she bodied it. She bodied it, coffined it, everything. She put it. She put it to
She's
rest.
The bomb. She's the bomb. Like, I've always enjoyed her, but I have not been as familiar with her non-comedic work.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, because and that's the thing. That's the problem with Hollywood. Because she did such a phenomenal job on Martin, because she did such a phenomenal job with Little Shop of Horrors, and Everybody Hates Chris. These are the roles that everybody knows her for, mm-hmm. because she has fantastic comedic timing.
Yeah,
she's a hell of an actress.
Yeah,
but that's all that they want to remember her for.
Mm-hmm.
But not for this movie about Lena Mae Baker, where she, like, if this movie had came out to the theaters within that whatever year that this came out, instead of straight to DVD,
yeah,
whoever was in that Oscar category that year would have easily gotten kicked out, period, because she would have taken that over. She would have won. And even the movie was great. That's the really frustrating part. Like, the white people that were in it, they were all great. Everybody else in the movie was great. Yeah. It went straight to DVD. Yeah. I can't figure it.
Yeah, there's got to be a reason for that. And
because we know the reason why.
Yeah.
We know the reason why. It was too harsh for white people.
It's about race. It's
about rape.
And about rape. So you got the two big R's that people don't like to talk about, that people like to kind of shove up under the bed. And it's, it's this boogeyman that we allow to still be the boogeyman.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
yep. And that's why I'm glad that that whole movement, the Me Too movement, came out.
Same.
However, the frustrating part is seeing so many people trying to take over a movement that a Black woman created.
Oh, girl, don't you get me started there today, Lord. Don't take me there today.
I mean, listen, I'll take you there because I can talk about this kind of stuff for hours. But I know you only got so much time for your podcast.
I think, yes, this movement has to represent victims, right, as a whole. But it is very typical of power to be taken from a Black woman's hands and reassigned to others.
Yeah.
That is a continuous theme. That is a theme in life. We see it everywhere.
Yeah.
We see it like all the time. And yeah, I think her name is Tarana Burke, correct?
Yes.
The founder of the Me Too movement. And fortunately, but unfortunately, it did have to pick up traction. And I think it's a relief that it picked up traction, right? But why did it have to pick up traction when white women got involved?
We know why.
Don't get me started.
But kind of getting back on what we were talking about in regards to Lena. So with Lena, there were two major significant things that I had to do in that role. And that one was to prepare myself to reenact a rape. And two, prepare myself to reenact an electrocution. So not only did I have to be raped in this play, mind you, it's a one-woman show. So I had to metaphysically, mental physically believe that someone was back there raping me. But I also had to mentally, physically believe that I was getting electrocuted as well. Two times this actually happened, where we had to have a prop master make a believable electric chair.
Okay.
So the prop master, who was Christina Kilmar, she is the owner of Untheater Company, which is Too Much Light Makes the Baby Go Blind, but she's also a fantastic props maker and works at the Macomb Theater Center. I can't remember the full name, but anyway.
Macomb Performing Arts Center.
Thank you.
The big one. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So my director, Cassandra, she pulled out a chair from out in the audience sitting area. She said, okay, this is your electric chair. Now, go ahead and sit in it. And I had to pause because I was just like, it kind of hit me a little bit then, but it really didn't hit me until I sat down. So she told me to go ahead, say my lines leading up to that moment. So I'm saying my lines and then I sit down and then I just stop. Now she still has lines when she's supposed to sit down. So I sat down and I felt like the life was draining out from up under me.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
And I started bawling my eyes out.
You're stuck in the character at that point.
I felt fear. I'm not going to say that I felt her fear because I don't know what she felt. The way that it was written, it was like she felt acceptance, but then also fear. But I felt a fear that I had never felt. My entire life. And it took me like a good 10 minutes to kind of calm down because I was slowly getting to a point of hyperventilation and everything. I was messed up, so messed up. So then after practicing with that chair, I was fine. And then it was kind of like numbing at that point. But then here comes the actual chair that's going to be in the show.
Oh, hell.
This thing looked like she pulled it out of a museum. That's how good this chair looked. And so then it had the cuffs, it had the head plate. And so when I sat down in that chair, again, tears just running down my face. And at this point, I was definitely hyperventilating. Because everything just felt too real, way too real. So I had to prepare myself mentally the entire time to not lose it. Because everything that was going on for Lena in this play, it was so much where people were ignoring her. People didn't want to be bothered with her. isolating her, everything. And it was terrible. I mean, that's the only word that can come to my mind. But the way that I coped afterwards, and I kid you not, after every single rehearsal, after every single show, I would put in the SpongeBob musical, and I would start playing Best Day Ever, and just blast the entire album from my drive from the theater all the way to home.
Yeah.
And I would have the radio blasting all the way up high, because I wanted to get out of that headspace. I needed something a lot safer for my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. So. Ooh, this is very heavy. I remember doing an opera one time in grad school where I played a kid who was being hunted to be killed. And I remember I got stuck in that character. And I remember just being on stage sobbing. And I remember going backstage freaking out like, they're trying to kill me. They're trying to kill me. Oh my God. And here's the applause going. And so there's this corner of me that's like, it's not real. It's not real. It's not real. But there's this bigger corner of me that is like manic at this point, you know? And I literally had to, who you really are has to say, okay, I got to get in the driver's seat now. You know, you got to chill out, the manic part. You got to chill. Yeah. Let me drive the car. Go walk around. Go breathe. Go pick up something. Go put down something. You know, go clap your hands. Go shake your hands. Go wash your hands. Go wash your face. You have to go through these decompression things.
Yep.
Because you will get stuck. And if anyone is not necessarily believing that, go look at Heath Ledger after The Dark Knight. He played, I don't care what anybody says, he's the best doggone Joker in any Batman franchise. I know people love,
you better not say Jared Leto.
No.
Oh, okay.
The older one, geez, his name is on the tip of my tongue. The original Joker. Help, Lord. I'm showing my millennial. It's showing. My millennial then came out to play Lord in the form of, I'm too young to remember.
Jack Nicholson?
Yeah! I was about to say, Jack, what's his last name? Yes. Original Joker, Jack Nicholson. You know, he was cool and he was the first, right? Heath Ledger bodied that role. There will never be another Joker for me. But when you look at how excellent he was as the Joker, and then you hear about his long-term, you know, bout of depression after that. So there already is a mental health toll that comes with this career, that comes with being in the spotlight, that comes with being a performer. There's already that, right? Yeah. And so you're battling that all the time, but then you're battling this character that you're stuck in. Yeah. And you've had to embody this role, not for 30 days, not for 6 weeks, but probably closer to a year, because you've had to rehearse, memorize, coach, film, and then opening night. Now I got to see myself act a fool on camera. That's a lot. You know what I mean? That's very heavy. And so it's very believable to see someone get so stuck. You know, unfortunately for him, it was the extreme at the end, but that's a thing, you know, and you start to realize, I think, that you find common threads between you and whatever character you are. And that's what makes it scary.
Yep. What's his name? Lakeith
Stanfield. My God. When he played that, I was going there to Judas and the Black Messiah.
Yep. He mentioned that he had to get therapy after that movie. Understandably so. You know, God.
That movie was good, and he played that part.
Yeah.
I was so mad at Bill after that. I was just pissed for the culture. I had to be pissed.
Yeah.
And the same thing with Daniel
Kaluuya. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if he had to get therapy after that role too.
I mean, because he really,
or if anybody that was on that show.
And to know that, you know, again, this is nonfiction. So this was definitely a thing.
This is real.
This happened. And yeah, it's a lot. And
yeah,
as much as we mourn those actual figures, because they should not have offered the contribution that they had to with their lives. Like, that's the ultimate price.
Yeah.
However, speaking of those two characters, Fred Hampton and Lena Mae Baker in particular, specifically, how much more do I appreciate their contribution, even though they didn't know, even though they didn't plan on that, even though they didn't deserve that? How much more do I appreciate that contribution? Because there is a story there. That is one probably reason why the electric chair is just outlawed. You know what I mean? That's probably just one example, but it is an example. Had we not had any of that, where would we be today?
Right. Yeah.
As sucky as it is, right? It's not fair. It's ugly. It's trifling. But look at it. I mean, yeah.
And she wasn't even trying to be a martyr.
Correct.
She wasn't even trying to be a martyr.
She was
just the wrong place. It was just the wrong place at the wrong damn time.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing about it was with Lena Mae was that she was constantly. It was a constant thing where she was being raped, and she worked for him. That's the thing. She worked for him, because he was reportedly an old mill farmer,
mm-hmm.
And she would just clean up his house, cook him dinner, whatnot, and everything else like that. And he was an old man, but not so old,
Mm-hmm.
It was one point, God, it was one point where Cassandra walked me through where she wanted me to, because I had to, with this show, this is the other thing that I had to prepare myself for. I had to prepare to have 15 different voices for this show. I had to have my voice prepared for my rapist, his son, my mother, my 3 children.
Oh no.
And the all white jurors that had to convict me. Yep. I had to have all those voices up here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was one particular moment where as I was giving my monologue, that I had to help him. I had to physically help him to the bathroom. And Cassandra, she said to me, "So are you really just going to stand there, or would you be helping him use the bathroom because he made you?" And she said, "I want you to go ahead and reach for it. Reach for it."
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Gross.com.
Yeah. And man, doing that every single time I did that in a performance, all I would hear was an audible gasp or a "ah" from the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is such a humbling experience, but I'm through the roof listening to it. I feel like I'm there because this has lived with you, and now you are planting seeds. And we just talking about this on Zoom. So what would I have been like had I actually, saw this? Which now I'm like,
you would. I mean, not to brag, but you would be in tears.
Listen, brag different, baby. Brag away, love bug. I mean, listen, if you don't give yourself flowers, it don't make sense to wait on somebody else to give you some flowers. You do it.
The story itself was sad. It was heart-wrenching.
Yeah.
But it just, every single time, it was either people were leaving with their heads lower, or people just in floods of tears just coming down their face.
That's a heavy show.
I can't tell you how many people I hugged at the end of that show. My friend Dan, which at the time we only knew of each other, he came to see me in that show, and he will tell you right now that he said that show he said Ashley was absolutely phenomenal in it. This is what he will say. I mean, I'm not, this is, I'm not bragging, but
you know what I'm gonna say.
But I mean, he can articulate it a lot better than I can.
Okay.
Because he'll really put the emphasis and the passion behind it. I'll just be like, well, but
fake humble, right? For me, it's the fake humble.
Who, me?
Oh, thank you.
I mean, I know, but thank you.
Oh my God, you shouldn't have. It's the fake humble for me. Period.
But I had so many people come up to me, give me hugs, literally asking me like, are you okay? Are you okay? I was like, define okay.
Yeah. I signed up for this. Define okay. Help me to define okay. This is my career of choice. Help me define what is okay. I ain't never been okay. Only a fool would be okay. I mean, yeah. No, that's
yeah. So, but like, yeah, that I would say that's my number one favorite. My second favorite was when I did Ain't Misbehaving.
Okay. Which role?
Charlene Woodard's role.
Okay.
The one who's tap dancing.
Uh-huh.
Which is funny because I can't tap dance. I can't dance to save my life. So,
you know what? Don't you get on this Black woman's podcast talking about something you can't dance now.
I can hold a rhythm, like,
okay, that's different.
I mean, if I need to, I just do this and I'll be straight.
Okay. What? Listen, and in the words of our prophetess, Cardi B, I don't dance now. I make money move. So what do it matter anyway?
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, period.
Right.
That's I'm incredibly inspired by your story, and I'm incredibly inspired by your work ethic. Dog, I feel like we need a part 2 for this alone. If anybody, here's a little plug. So Ashley has a podcast herself, Black Queens on Stage, and I was a guest of that in fall 2020, which is why we're so comfortable clowning on Zoom, right?
Right.
I ain't never seen this woman in person a day in my life, but you would think that I just have gone to the bar. We didn't, you know what I mean? Been out to eat 11 times. Like, that's kind of the effect of dealing with an extrovert. I make friends with the wall, right? So we talked about so many cool things last podcast, right? And I'll be sure to link that as well. However, this is the part 2. So do we do the part 3?
I mean,
it's just heavy. It's just heavy. It's such a relief to be in the company of artists. If you are someone who is listening and you don't have artist friends, you are really missing out. These are some of the best, most enriching, high-level thinking conversations that I've ever had. I have never had conversations like this with math people. And if anybody knows anything about me, some of you don't know me personally, let me tell you, I pick on nurses, engineers, any logical career. I pick on y'all because y'all pick on us. Let me not say y'all. The world picks on us. All right. And so this is my
you love tap.
I love you all, and we need STEM people. We need medical professionals. We need, logical thinkers. We need all of those astronauts and things like that. So I'm not belittling the career, but I am picking on the career because y'all get too much play. Let's get some play in here. I pick on engineers and nurses because the conversations that I have with them, they just are different. They're sometimes they're logically based. I'm usually the comedian of the group by accident. I don't mean to be, but I think it's because sometimes the things that I talk about are so out there for some people. It's kind of like, is she saying this for real out of her mouth? I absolutely am. And in my mind, there's nothing wrong. But in their mind, they're like, this girl's off the chain. And I'm like, So you guys don't talk about this at work? Oops, I forgot. You have a regular person's job. I don't know what that's like. What's that about? I had one of those and I was miserable. So I was like, bye. Yeah, you got to get you some artist friends. We have meaningful conversations. Your community is going to be everything. What do they say? Your network is your net worth. Iron sharpens iron. And so being able to have these intuitive conversations about experiences and common ground, but even things that maybe we don't necessarily agree about, or maybe we don't know anything about them, and just listening to someone else's experience, that's enlightenment. All of that is enlightenment. And I'm always searching to be enlightened. I have this running joke for myself that, I was born on the top level of Maslow's hierarchy. I don't know what it's like to come down. I don't know what it's like beyond or under self-actualization, and it's the same thing with, what's his name? Bloom's taxonomy. I'm in synthesis.
You're going over my head now.
Oh, my bad. Okay. All right. So there's like an order. So Bloom's taxonomy, I'm going to try to explain it the best way I can. This is where those education classes came in handy, right? It's a learning order, right? Okay. So it's like a hierarchy, but it's a learning order. I cannot remember all of like the quadrants or whatever, the levels, but the bottom level, the lowest level of learning is like memorization. So I'm looking at something and I read it, I absorb it, I can spit it back out. That's the lowest level of learning. You move up to like maybe comprehension. I read and I understand, but that's still not the highest level, right? You move up, I think, more to maybe like analysis, where I'm able to look at something, understand it, and now I can do like cause and effect with it, but that's still not the highest level. I think there's another level somewhere in there, maybe discussion or something. I can also teach it. I can talk about it. But I believe the highest level, unless there was a level added, when I was back in school in my day, the highest level was synthesis, where I can create something from this information. Not only can I teach it, I can create and I can analyze my creation. You're at the highest productivity level of learning. And so as a musician, you're always in synthesis. If you work as a musician, you're in synthesis all the time. You're always in creation. You're always in communication. You're always in cause and effect. You can look at the world, and even if it has nothing to do, the events have nothing to do with music, you can look at the world and you can strategize and design think solutions to problems that maybe the mathematician can't solve because it's just out of their realm. Your brain is just trained to be that higher level thinking order, which is why I'm such an advocate for artists using their power. Ain't no such thing as a dumb degree musician, especially if you got a master's. Now, a bachelor's was hard, right? But it wasn't hard because it was hard. It was hard because of time management. Because again, you had 11 classes. However, when you get an advanced degree in music, I mean, only thing you need left is the anatomy class and you can go be a surgeon. You know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of like, it's so high level all the time. And the conversations that you have and the way you have to write about things and think about things and, be able to discuss things and, just the assessments, the kind of assessments that you had. I had maybe one test in grad school that was regular. Everything else was a paper. Everything. And it was about a range of topics. Everything was a paper. And it was just like, I learned so much more from that writing experience and that synthesis experience all the time. So, yeah, I pick on nurses and engineers because they don't always, and other muggle jobs and muggle professions, they don't always have to operate at the top level of the taxonomy. Yet they are paid like they do. Artists typically operate at least at analysis and above. And yeah, somehow society still likes to push the starving artist lifestyle, mentality, mindset.
Yeah.
And the devil, you ain't gonna do that to me no more. The devil.
Well, that's kind of where, and I know this is kind of off subject, but
probably not.
But I feel like for myself in regards to my web design business, I'm in that stage where, like maybe between comprehension and analysis, where I'm understanding it, and then now I'm analyzing it to a different degree. And so that's a lot of, that's another creative outlet. Because remember, like I said, I love to draw.
Yeah.
I still have a DeviantArt account that I post like
I love it.
fan art and stuff on.
I love it.
But with web design, it's kind of like another creative outlet for me to design and for me to create and draw something. So I'm like, whenever I have to create a website, I feel like I'm at that point of synthesis where I have to create something new. And then that's probably the part where I get stuck on, until I just keep going over it and over 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 and over.
You probably overthink it, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think we may have had this zodiac chat before. I remember you're a Taurus. What's your rising and what's your moon?
My rising is Virgo.
Oh yeah, you overthink everything. Yeah.
And Jesus Christ help me, my moon is Aquarius.
Okay, but that actually is good, because that's probably the more fun, carefree part of you. Aquarius can be fun. It's carefree? That Virgo. Yeah, carefree. Oh, my experience with Aquarius has typically been people who are just fun. It's between Aquarius and Libra. They are fun to me, right? I'm a Scorpio sun, so you can always find me crying somewhere in private. I wear my feelings everywhere. Literally, I have them on right now in the form of a shirt. Who knew? Scorpio sun, Virgo moon. So I overthink a lot as well. And a Leo rising. So I'm in your face. I got to be seen. Everything's a big spectacle.
Braggadocious.
Just bravado all over the place, right? All the time. But yeah, I will ideate and ideate and ideate. And if somebody don't sit me down, or if I don't have a good ground somewhere, I will not execute. I'm a strategist, not always an executor. So I do get that. And I think sometimes in synthesis, when you are an artist and you're going to a correlating career, so like web design is your correlating career, it runs alongside your acting career. It doesn't take the place of, it runs alongside. Sometimes when you are an artist, you are used to being in a period of creation and refinement.
Yeah.
Creation, refinement, creation, some more, refinement. Like it's a constant cycle.
Yep.
Until the director says tomorrow night's opening night. And even then, after opening night is done, after you have that first show and you've got, successive shows after, you're still in refinement.
Yep.
So when you're an artist, you don't leave that space. You don't leave it, because it's always about, how can I make this better? How can I make this more intuitive? How can I make this more natural? How can I make this more relatable? You're always in that ideation, synthesis, refinement cycle. And so in real life, you just have to pull the trigger. But we sometimes don't get that because of that cycle. That's our life. You know what I mean? And so there's great benefits to that, but there's a few downsides as well, and so just acknowledging that is part of the process, I feel like is just helpful. Refinement is important. Synthesis is important, but so is execution. Just do the damn thing.
That's why this whole, as you like to put it, this panorama.
I got another one. This
Pythagorean theorem.
Here we go. I got one for you. This daggone ponderosa. Do anybody else miss them wings? Just me? Okay. All right.
This whole thing with the virus has really, like for me, and I hate to put it this way, because thankfully I've been able to kind of concentrate a little bit more on my businesses, trying to execute those and get those up off the ground. Right. But then also at the same time too, I miss theater. I really miss it. And for some people, the theater, and then maybe their 9 to 5, and that's all that they have. They don't have really any other kind of way that they're being where they're having a creative outlet.
Right.
All three of my jobs are some type of creative outlet, you know?
Yeah.
So that's why I don't feel too deprived. I just want to kind of like switch whenever I feel like I need to. Like, okay, so I've done stuff for Black, and let me switch over here to the web design for a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, done enough with the web design. Let me switch over back over here and do some theater.
Yeah.
But because theater is not here at the moment, or it's taking its break because of the virus, so it's just back and forth between Black and web design, Black and web design.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it's very tennis match like with me.
It sucks.
Like for my friend Dan, theater is his life, you know. Yeah. So he has his 9-to-5 job. He goes and do that, and then he's not really letting out any kind of outlet artistically.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of people right now, and they feel lost at this point.
It's an identity crisis.
I don't know if it's identity crisis, but it's just like
for us it is.
Yeah.
For singers.
It's like a missing, it's like, you know, like the scales are unbalanced right now.
Yeah. I've had a lot of peers, colleagues reach out and basically say, I don't even feel like a singer anymore. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I don't know what this is. Damn. And I guess my argument is regular theater, traditional theater, probably, I could be wrong, has the opportunity to come back quicker than a musical theater setting or an opera setting. You guys don't put out nearly as many aerosols as we do. You know what I mean? It literally is about the science, I feel like, even though I could be wrong because the vaccine or whatever, but yeah, I've had a handful of people basically say that. And I feel that it's like an identity crisis. It's like, I don't feel like a singer anymore. I'm singing and I'm doing what I, can do, but I just don't feel like a singer anymore, that hustle and bustle. But then, it also challenges you. What is feeling like a singer supposed to feel like? Is there a book that tells me what I should feel like? Is there a manual that tells me how I should go about? Because this is an atypical situation. And so we will never live through this again. You know what I mean? Our generation, hopefully, prayerfully, I don't ever want to do this shit again. But I mean, it was okay it was cute for a couple months because I needed some downtime. But now it's just Miss Rona, go ahead now, sit down now. I'm sick of you now. Yeah,
Are you fully vaccinated? I'm sorry, not to cut you off. You fully vaccinated?
Yup.
Good for you.
Yup. I decided to, after one of my students came down with COVID, contracted COVID, and their recovery. They just now have started being able to hum and make pitches as of 2 weeks ago. Jesus. And they had COVID at the beginning of this year. We're in April now. At the time of recording, this is April. I can't afford to catch COVID because my voice is how I make money. Health-wise, I can't afford to catch COVID, obviously. Primarily, I just can't afford to be down. Even a week under is a financial blow. You know what I mean? Let alone 3-4 months. Yeah. I don't have time for that. And after that, I was like, yeah, let me just go ahead and sign up for this thing. So personally, I'm doing the thing, and, I'm still mindful about where I'm going. I'm going out to eat these days at the restaurants, which I'm a reel in after I looked at these numbers this past weekend. But yeah, we're surging again in Michigan. It's the third surge. It's nothing we can do about it either, I feel like, because people are just hashtag over it because they didn't do what they were supposed to do the first time to stop this. So,
well, I mean, and this is something that my mother pointed out. She said it's people that went during spring break to all these other hot spots and then coming back and bringing that shit here. So,
you know what? And it is schools opening for sports, contact sports, in addition to the restaurants and bars opening. In addition to people trying to shove you to go back to normal. And it's like, this is the new normal right now. And the quicker that people accept that, the better off we'll be. But people refuse to accept that. So it's just kind of like, Okay, never mind. I'll stay in the house. Financially, from a financial and from a singing standpoint, I cannot afford to catch COVID.
Yeah.
And that's no shade to people who have caught it. It's not your fault 9 times out of 10 that you caught it. There's nothing you can do about it now. But if I can avoid this thing, I'm gonna avoid this thing. And that's just that. I just don't have time or money to deal with this. I could potentially deal with it if it were like a 5-dayer, you know what I mean? But the fact that you just don't know what it's going to do is too unpredictable, and I'm okay. So, I got that hot Moderna and rolling with it at this point. I'm just so over it. But okay, so we can keep going.
Everything about everything under the sun just now.
We need a happy hour. Are you fully vaccinated? Is the question.
Yes, absolutely.
So, off camera, you let me know if you are interested in linking up for the drink up. Link up for the drink up if you are a drinker. At some point this season. But yeah, okay. If you had to leave any advice with your fellow acting tribe or your creative tribe, which includes me and a host of others, what is it?
I always ask my guests this kind of question, like, what advice do you have? And then
it's not fun to be in a hot seat, is it?
No, it's not. It's not. That really is a good question. I would say be open-minded. To be make sure that you're open-minded, definitely be able to take criticism, because I've come along some people that can't take no damn criticism. Even if you don't agree with it, just say, I would respectfully have to disagree. But just like, in terms of taking criticism, try it. If it doesn't feel right for you, let your director or whoever else know, and then just say, I would respectfully have to disagree. The other piece of advice I would have to say, and this is definitely towards my Black creatives, don't always feel like you have to prove something. In predominantly white establishments, we all go through it. All of us as Black creatives, we all go through it as Black creatives in these predominantly white establishments. Don't always feel like you've got to prove something. And also don't take no shit either, because shit will always be tried. So,
and that's on who?
Mary Had a Little Lamb.
You don't have to prove anything to anybody but yourself.
Right.
You don't owe anybody.
Right.
But yourself.
Yep.
And nobody owes you. That's what you learn. It's a two-way street.
Yep.
It's a two-way street.
That's one thing that I had, that is definitely one thing that I've had to learn in terms of my web design business. Like, I don't expect my friends to support me in that, because my prices are too high. So
bag talk. Bag talk. Bag talk.
But what I would like are for my fellow creatives, Black, white, whoever, to support me in Blacken, because it's about acknowledging Black women performers, but then it's also encouraging anti-racism policies and practices in Michigan performing venues.
Amen.
So if for those who say that I'm not racist, prove it.
Yeah.
Prove it.
You can talk that talk. Come on, walk it, boo.
Prove it.
Where can people find you online?
Okay, so I have a Instagram account for Blacken. Instagram is BLAQN Show Michigan. You can also find me on Facebook for Blacken at BLAQ Show Michigan. I'm also on Twitter at BLAQNMI. For my web design business, you can find me on both Facebook and Instagram at Sites by Lyle. The Blacken website is blaqn.org. The web design site is sitesbylyle.com.
And all my folks, thank you for coming out with us today. We hope that this was enlightening and kind of entertaining too, because what is life without a little entertainment, a little razzle dazzle? So give them the old razzle dazzle. I love Chicago. Yeah, I'm not going to nerd out too much. Thank you so much for joining me. It was a blast. Once again, it was a whole vibe.
I love this. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my God. I am looking forward to seeing you again this time. Again, the link up for the drink up.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. And bye.
Bye.